The Austrian team hasn't delivered the kind of car Verstappen expected for the 2025 season. With limited resources, staying ahead in the mid-season development race will be an even bigger challenge. Could this push Max to consider a move? And, if so, why does Mercedes seem like the best destination for him right now? There's no denying that Verstappen's future with Red Bull is under serious doubt. You don't need to be an expert to see that his father, Jos Verstappen, has repeatedly hinted that Max will explore other teams if he can no longer secure wins with Red Bull. The verdict from a four-time champion after the first race of 2025 is in. He's not convinced Red Bull will be in the fight for race wins. In fact, he believes at least one other team has already pulled ahead in pure performance. Verstappen himself has shared his thoughts on the situation, and his words paint a clear picture of Red Bull's struggles. He admitted, "I don't think we can fight for the win just yet in Melbourne. The RB21 can be fine-tuned a bit more compared to our preseason test in Bahrain, but right now, there's only one team that looks capable of competing for the world title. And yes, their car is a nice color, but from our side there's still a lot of work to do." That statement alone is enough to raise eyebrows. Verstappen is known for his direct and honest approach when analyzing his car's performance, and for him to suggest that Red Bull isn't in the best shape is a serious concern. The signs indicate that things are heading in the wrong direction, and turning it around won't be easy given how much they've already fallen behind. He also added, "It's never good enough, of course, but I think we expected a little bit more from it after the test. There's always some time to go through the data and make adjustments, but as things stand, there are still improvements to be made." This isn't necessarily a sign that Verstappen is giving up on the season or looking for an immediate exit, but it does suggest that Red Bull is in trouble. The team has been dealing with internal conflicts for months, which has impacted trust among key personnel and led to major departures. Names like Adrian Newey, Paul Monaghan, and Jonathan Wheatley have already left for rival teams. Meanwhile, Jos Verstappen has been adding fuel to the fire, keeping the conversation alive and making it clear that Max's future at Red Bull is far from certain. Max himself is beginning to realize that his driving skills alone won't be enough if the team isn't delivering a competitive car. But according to the Verstappen camp, the real issue lies at the top: Christian Horner. Jos firmly believes that as long as Horner remains in charge, the team will continue to be plagued by tension and instability. The ongoing controversies and internal conflicts have already driven away some of Red Bull's most important engineers, and if that trend continues, the team's performance in 2025 will suffer even more. Speaking about the current situation, Jos said, "You never know how the other teams are doing until testing begins, so we'll have to wait and see. But Red Bull needs to have built a strong car. It's absolutely crucial for Max. The question is, can they still do it after losing so many key people? If they struggle now, then we have to worry about what happens in the years to come." This is where Red Bull faces a critical challenge. Whether fans like it or not, the team is in serious trouble, and last season's technical issues seem to have carried over into 2025. Verstappen had already warned that if development continued at the same sluggish pace as before, his chances of winning another title would be slim. And now, with Red Bull failing to show clear progress, he has every reason to be concerned. If the team continues to rely solely on Verstappen to carry them through the season, they could be in for a rude awakening in 2026. This is also the perfect moment for other teams, like Mercedes, to step in and take advantage of the chaos at Red Bull. Formula One is a sport where history matters far less than the present and the future. If someone had predicted a few years ago that Lewis Hamilton would leave Mercedes for Ferrari, it would have been dismissed as an outrageous rumor. Yet here we are. Now, discussions about Verstappen potentially leaving Red Bull are no longer just whispers. They're out in the open. Even Mercedes team boss Toto Wolff has admitted that he plans to have a conversation with Verstappen following Hamilton's departure. So, Is Max to Mercedes really that far-fetched? One major factor that could complicate things is Mercedes's commitment to its young driver lineup. Wolff has repeatedly expressed confidence in George Russell and 17-year-old rising star Andrea Kimi Antonelli. The team seems to be investing heavily in the next generation, and Antonelli is widely seen as a future star. However, Mercedes might have an ace up its sleeve. The 2026 regulations will bring a major shakeup, particularly in engine and battery technology, areas where Mercedes has historically excelled. Back in 2014, when similar regulation changes were introduced, they dominated the sport for years. If they can replicate that success, they'll need a world-class driver to lead the charge, and Verstappen would be the ideal candidate. This isn't just about filling a vacant seat. It's about securing a proven champion who could spearhead their next era of dominance. Mercedes wouldn't be looking at a young prospect with potential. They'd be bringing in a four-time world champion at the peak of his career. And when an opportunity like that arises, few teams would say no. But there's one major issue. 3 doesn't fit into 2. If Verstappen joins, one of the current drivers will have to make way. That puts immense pressure on Russell, who must prove this season that he is Mercedes' undisputed leader. There's already speculation that Russell and Hamilton didn't always receive equal treatment within the team. And now, with Antonelli coming in, the situation could become even more complex. The dynamic at Mercedes is about to get even more intense. Russell has made it clear that he's ready for any challenge, even if it means having Verstappen as his teammate. Before Antonelli's signing, when rumors of Verstappen possibly joining Mercedes were circulating, Russell welcomed the idea with open arms. He stated, "I'd be all for it." Coming into Mercedes in 2022, following Lewis's legendary years and victories, was already a huge challenge. But I believe in myself. You have to go up against the best in equal machinery to prove what you've got. Having Lewis as my teammate for the past 3 years has prepared me for anything. We push each other every single week, and I'd welcome Max in the same way. I want to compete against the best. Let's make it happen. But would it really be that simple? Even if Verstappen were open to the idea of joining Mercedes, there's another factor in play: the Aston Martin option. Several key Red Bull personnel, including Adrian Newey, have moved to the Silverstone-based team, and their engine partner, Honda, is also making the switch. With Fernando Alonso likely to retire after 2026, Aston Martin could become a serious contender for Verstappen's signature. However, there's a big question mark over whether Honda's project will be as competitive as they hope. The Japanese manufacturer has already admitted that they might be slightly behind schedule, and in a sport where every fraction of a second matters, that's not an encouraging sign. Competing against the likes of Ferrari and Mercedes in a brand-new, regulatory era won't be easy. Still, Aston Martin has top-tier facilities and a strong technical staff, which could be appealing to Verstappen. The real question is, will they have the firepower to convince him to join, or will he see Mercedes as the smarter choice? The decision Verstappen makes could reshape the landscape of Formula One for years to come. If he chooses Mercedes, he would be stepping into a team with a history of dominance, a strong technical foundation, and the potential to lead the grid when the new regulations come into effect in 2026. On the other hand, Aston Martin presents an intriguing alternative, a chance to build something from the ground up alongside familiar faces from Red Bull. The problem is, Red Bull's decline isn't just about losing key personnel. The internal power struggles, the uncertainty surrounding Christian Horner's leadership, and the lack of a clear long-term development plan have all contributed to a sense of instability within the team. Max is well aware of this, and if he feels Red Bull can no longer provide him with a championship-winning car, he won't hesitate to look elsewhere. Meanwhile, Mercedes remains patient, watching Red Bull's situation unfold. Toto Wolff knows that having a driver like Verstappen in his team would be a game-changer. However, he also has to balance the expectations of Russell and the development of Antonelli. If Verstappen does become available, Mercedes will have to make a tough call. Do they stick with their long-term vision, or do they bring in a proven champion to secure immediate success? At the end of the day, the next few months will be crucial. Red Bull must prove that they can still compete at the highest level, or they risk losing the one driver who has kept them on top for so long. And if Verstappen decides to leave, it won't just be a simple driver transfer, it will be one of the biggest moves in Formula One history. What do you think? Will Verstappen stay loyal to Red Bull, or is a blockbuster move to Mercedes or Aston Martin on the horizon? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to stay updated on all the latest F1 news, make sure to subscribe and check out our next video.